someone who could if anyone had the right to just act like God on earth, it was literally God on earth, Jesus Christ, and yet he didn't. You know.
Welcome back to another episode of Competing for Christ. I'm here with Big K Kyle.
That's me.
And I am your host, Dwayne, the Coach Smith. So today we are going to talk a little bit about confidence versus arrogance.
Got it.
Confidence versus arrogance. So as you are preparing for this podcast, those who are listening or watching on YouTube, what are those kind of things? What kind of things do those two words kind of put in your mind? Just kind of put those in the comments as you go through this episode, and we'd love to hear from you what you think the difference between confidence and arrogance is. But before we get started, Kyle has some news. I know you were looking at pursuing your a postgraduate degree, and you got some news.
I got accepted into Ohio State. I'm going to be enrolled as a student in their school psychology program.
Nice. I'm really excited, even though you're wearing your Cincinnati. There was a choices between Ohio State and Cincinnati.
Yeah, exactly.
And you got into Ohio State, and that's where you're going to take.
So I'm going to take.
Oh, that's awesome. Awesome, but Cincinnati's probably still. That'll always have a special place in your heart.
Yeah. Shout out to, if you ever see this, Davion, David, and the Chateau, everyone there, and everyone on the cross country team or distance team that was part of Cincinnati that I was a part of. Shout out to you guys, because you guys helped make that special, and just the track program in general, and really just everyone in Cincinnati I met. Oh, H12. Shout out to everybody. I just love everybody from Cincinnati. It's a great place. I love you guys.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, congratulations on that. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
That's pretty good. Just a real quick initial thoughts on confidence versus arrogance. We've had this talk before.
Yeah, many times.
We've had times where people have called me arrogant or called you arrogant. Mm-hmm. And I've had a little, I don't know, just like there's a fine line to me between confidence and arrogance. Uh-huh. And so I'm trying to, I've always had the interest in that because discussion. I would think that there have been athletes who seem to be arrogant, but if they didn't have that arrogant, would they be as great of athletes as they were? Mm-hmm. Is that part of the drive for them, or is it just a show, or what? So I did look up a thing, and it said like the top 10 most arrogant athletes.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, well, let's get our listeners and our watchers on YouTube their opinion on what they might think the top 10. I was like, I don't know about that with some of these athletes on there.
So you sent me the link right before this, and I was just quickly scrolling that too, like literally 5 minutes before we were recording this, and I thought the same thing too. I was like, I want to label them as arrogant.
Yeah.
Confident maybe, but not arrogant. And I think, but what I might deem as confidence, another person might deem as arrogance. I think that's, in my opinion, just because you might be perceived as arrogant, I won't automatically qualify you as arrogant.
Okay. Well, maybe we should define those first.
Uh-huh.
So, how would you define arrogance, and how would you define
I think
confidence?
It's really hard because I don't like having a really fine line definition. Although I think there's guidelines to point out like this is probably, if someone acts in this way, it's more likely to be arrogant than a sign of confidence, and then vice versa. But I kind of take it as a case by case basis with every person. Like, for example, if I have no problem with MJ coming to me or anyone who's just like, if MJ in his prime says I'm the best basketball player here in this room, like, and maybe that might be an arrogant thing to say, right? But I'm not. But he probably is the best person in this room, and I think that's just him just like it's a belief that he has that's corresponds with reality. My opinion when it comes to arrogance is when you have a belief in your own personal abilities that do not correspond with reality. Like if I came in a room with Michael Jordan and I said I'm the best person, that to me would be arrogant. I think another thing is, and another aspect of arrogance for me also is when you elevate self above others. So you could look at Michael Jordan's comments and to say, yeah, he is elevating himself above others. But in my opinion, in that situation, he is the best player. I don't think he's not trying to elevate himself. He's just stating
stating a fact.
Stating a fact, yeah.
Yeah.
I've been reading in Job, recently, and talking about when Job, he's like, oh, here Job's talking his talk, like, you bless me with all this. When I walk in a room, people want to listen to me, all this kind of stuff. All this kind of stuff. And you made some comments about how you, like, is this arrogance? But when Scott Disinger, there's, maybe I shouldn't say names. You could edit this out, maybe. But other people made some comments.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And
so just real quick, this is a Bible study that Kyle and I are in. It's like a YouVersion Bible app study through the Bible, and we are not in there now, but we were in Job, and so he was just talking about some people who are doing this Bible reading plan with us. So.
Yeah, sorry, my bad. I'm so bad at this, but yeah, and these other people. they responded and it's like, I don't know if it's arrogance, but I think they're just recognizing, hey, God blessed me with all this, and I'm just stating how it is. And then likewise, right after that, and now God's like, he's taken all that away from me. He's just telling, this is how I am now. People don't respect me. People do this, and I think he's just naming the reality of how his life was.
Yeah.
And I think to me, that's when I think of confidence and arrogance. I approach it with a case-by-case basis, but generally, confidence is the things that is just you believe that true about yourself, but also is like corresponds with reality. And then arrogance is two parts of it. It's things that you believe about yourself that does not correspond with reality, and also seeks to elevate self above others.
Yeah, I like that. And to me, I agree with you. I think there can be a spectrum with that. It's not like this person's either arrogant or he's confident. I think there's probably a thread of confidence can be throughout, and it can be exhibited through arrogance at times, even though the person himself is not necessarily arrogant. He can, like anybody can be arrogant, even though their entirety, they're not an arrogant person.
Yeah.
But you can display arrogance at any of us can, And a lot of the little things I was looking at or reading, arrogance was compared to pride. And there's lots of scripture that talks about pride and things like that. But again, there's times where you want to be proud of something you've accomplished. There's times to be proud, but there's just a fine line sometimes, I think. So, let's just look at some of those top 10. It's kind of because Michael Jordan was not on that top 10 list, which surprised me from what I've heard, But some of those people also do a lot of trash talking, which we're going to talk about next week, hopefully with your brother on the podcast. So
that'll be a treat.
Yeah, should be cool. So I let's see. Number one was Floyd Mayweather. He was the number one most arrogant or cocky person on the list. But like you said, he was able to perform it. But a lot of people were saying that he avoided certain fight. Like he never was able to. He avoided fights, or the people that he would fight weren't up to par or whatever. But some of it was just the way he would display his greatness, I guess, and how he would demand certain things. So, it was like, do you know who I am type person. You can't fight me unless you do this. You can't fight me unless you do this. You need to have different gloves. We need to do it in this place. And like, I dictate everything because I'm the one, I'm the top rung. So we can't just, basically they were saying there's no humility in like, some people say, "Oh, I'll fight you anywhere. It doesn't really matter," type thing. Like, I'm dictating everything because I am better than you type idea. But I don't know. Most people think that he is the greatest, so.
I don't know too much about Floyd Mayweather, to be honest. I'm not I'm not a casual boxing fan or MMA mixed martial arts fan. Yeah. I follow it loosely. I know who he is. I know he's 50-0. I know that a lot of people do consider himself the greatest. I thought him the greatest. I know him. He thinks that he's the greatest boxer of all time. But I don't think. I mean, just to listen to your comments, the fact that he knows from my personal experience, just listening to him speak sometimes, he knows he can't beat anybody in a fight. When asked the question if he could beat Mike Tyson, he would say, "No, yeah, he'll beat me." It's different weight class. The guy is just, it's just like when you're actually in an actual fight. Boxing is different than actually just on the street fight. Like if you're actually in an actual street fight, even Conor McGregor lost many fights in the street. In the ring, it's different. It's just there's rules to the game,
right?
And all Floyd Mayweather, all he's thinking about winning. I'm trying to get the best advantage for me to win. So let me dictate how this is going to go. Let's make it an even playing field. I'm not just going to let you do this. You have to be this certain weight. And most boxers negotiate that way. It's like if we're going to fight each other, sign the contract. You have to be at this weight, and you have to be, all this kind of stuff. I don't really know how all the things go.
Yeah.
But I don't think, to me, that's not arrogance. That's just that's the nature of the sport. Like it's like, hey, we could fight each other. I will fight you. You just have to play by these rules. And they have the same thing too. Like the reason why they want to fight him is because it's an opportunity to get the title.
Yeah.
So he is the prize and the money. Yeah.
Bank.
Yeah, and there's a lot of money involved. But it's like, I think more than even the money, they want the title.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
you're
and so he is the prize. It makes sense why they would want and he knows that, and it's not arrogant to you're in your position. Let's negotiate. You can set the terms too if you want. You could. It's like, hey, I won't fight you for it. It's like, fine, you don't have to fight me. It's just the nature of the sport. I don't consider that arrogant.
Okay,
it's just how boxing works.
Well, another boxer was number 2, and that was Muhammad Ali. Do you know much about Muhammad Ali?
I actually like Muhammad Ali a lot, not even just for his boxing abilities, but also his abilities to just speak clearly and confidently, and what he believes in. He's very good with analogies. Yeah. He's very good with he's very artistic in the way he speaks. He's a deep thinker.
Poet.
He's a poet, yeah, and he's very witty. He's very quick with getting back at certain comments, and he does it with charm and. I like Muhammad Ali.
Okay, so you wouldn't say he was arrogant?
I mean, I could see why people will classify him as arrogant. He's like, "I'll show you how great I am," and that's a very famous quote. And I'm pretty sure he says I'm the greatest ever.
Yeah.
And I do have some qualms with that, just because it'd be really hard to
It's self-elevating.
Yeah,
if you're like, I am the greatest. It's self-elevating.
He is great, and I think if you're gonna have other people call you the greatest, that's fine. But you can't call yourself the greatest. I think part of what makes great players great is their humility. My personal belief, I think that Michael Jordan is the greatest player of all time. LeBron's the best player of all time. And I think there's two different things. I could explain that later, maybe some other podcast. But part of what makes Michael Jordan great, in my opinion, is that when confronted with those questions in an interview I was watching a long time ago, I was trying to find it right before this podcast. I couldn't find it. But he was asked, and maybe it just doesn't exist. Maybe it's just my head. But when asked who's the greatest, he's like, I don't like that question because different eras. He's talking about Jack Nicklaus and Tiger Woods or something, and they're talking like they have played in different eras. Like maybe Jack Nicklaus has 18 majors, Tiger has 14, but they have different clubs, different courses, the distance of everything, different competition, all that kind of stuff. Like, yeah, they're both great for their time, and let's just leave it at that. Talked about himself, like I never got to play against Wilt Chamberlain, Jerry West, I don't know if he mentioned other names like I said Bill Russell, Magic. Well, he played against Magic. Russell, Oscar Robertson, all these people, all these great players of the past, never got to play them.
Mm-hmm.
We say like I can't say I'm better than we never played against each other. So
right.
Like, how can we ever even compare? They were great for their time, and they pushed. All I'm focused on is who they are and how they push the game forward. They were transcendent players, and because of them, like people like me can now step in place and keep on that momentum.
Yeah.
And now we have people like Curry, LeBron, like that, like, and so I just like looking at great talent, and we'll just leave it at that. And to me, that response to who's the GOAT. Like, he never said me. He just, like...
Yeah.
Like, I recognize... He could say, I could recognize my place in my time. You know, what I did for the thing. But, you know, the game keeps evolving. I personally believe that the basketball players today are better than the basketball players even when Jordan are playing. It's a personal opinion. Just offensively, even... Yeah, just the personal opinion. Just we don't have to go into it. But I don't... But that doesn't mean... and the same thing with soccer. You know, the same thing with soccer. The players today in the 2020s are way better than players in the 1980s. Yeah. It's just that doesn't mean I'm not going to compare Maradona to Mbappe and say like Maradona's greatness is greatness. Okay, this is not a greatness debate, but
yeah, we're gonna get some soccer players here in a second.
Okay, cool.
But Muhammad Ali, just because you can see, I liked your point. You were basically saying I can see how people would claim that to be arrogant, even though he was, you know, at that time the greatest because he won the titles and all that. But he also, but he was claiming himself, and that to me, when your original definition, like you're elevating yourself above other people, is one of your definitions of arrogance. Number 3 was Tom Brady.
I never heard anything that he was arrogant from him. Like I never heard an arrogant statement like a quotable one.
Yeah. I don't think so either. But
just the fact that he wins doesn't mean he's arrogant.
yeah, it's almost like maybe haters out there saying he's arrogant just because that he wins a lot. But you know, people would talk about Deflategate or like all these different things that the Patriots would do or Tom Brady would do to kind of gain an advantage.
But that's not arrogance
or whatever. Yeah, I know. I agree with you based on our definitions that we have. But he was number 3 on the list. Again, any of you guys, if you have any of you that have opinions on these things, please put them in the comments and let us know. LeBron James then was number 4, and from what you have already said a little bit, do you have any reason why people might think? I mean, most of the comments on that article was like because he whines a lot, or that he just has to. You know, you can't stay in one place. I got to go find another place to win a championship, and it's just like
that's not arrogant.
Well, it's like I can't do it with you peasant people. I got to go find some other people that can help me do it or whatever. So it's like I'm the best on this team, and I can't do it with you guys. I got to go find some other people who are good. And that can be seen as an arrogant type of behavior.
Yeah, that my attitude. I think people could recognize that because I was just watching a clip right before this podcast, and because I remember when you prompted me, it's like we're talking about arrogance and confidence. Like, okay, my head was just spinning. I was like, what's Dad going to ask me? Because I go into this pretty much blind. Like he has all these questions, and I just kind of just respond off the dome. But I was like, in like the 5-7 minutes before this, I was just like preparing. I was like, what can I talk about? But there's the dome when in 2020, the COVID, the Cinderella NBA finals, whatever it's called, the Mickey Mouse, whatever club, whatever they're calling that finals. I forget what it's called. I forget the terminology. But during that time, they're in the bubble, and there was, I guess, a meeting to see if they want to either extend the season or not, to like just have like a league, whatever, or just to eliminate it. And LeBron and the Clippers and Lakers both said, we don't want to continue the season. Let's just we'll just end it right now. Like, let's not have a finals this year. And the rest of the 28 teams were like, no, let's have one. And LeBron, before he's riding on the wall, he just storms out. Just before the thing ends, they were like, dude, who are you? To just like, it's like, okay, yeah, you guys are not worth my time. You guys are not listening to God speak. That's kind of like how they were interpreting it. He comes back in after the decision's final. Okay, we're going to have the season. He comes back in and has like a 15-minute rant, and he's just like, I'm just trying to look out for the people beneath me, and I was like, and maybe it's not a direct quote, but something along those lines, and just talking about like how he just views himself just like, I'm just looking out for, like, what do you mean beneath you? Like we're all on the same level here, you know? We're trying to make a decision. Like, just because you are the king doesn't mean you should act. And so, like, I personally, LeBron's my favorite player, right? But today, not, but like things like that, those are things that's like, come on, LeBron, you know?
Yeah.
He does other things too, like case by case basis.
But and like I said, I think it's a spectrum. Yeah, it's like he has confidence, and he's like you said, you think he's the best player. Mm-hmm. And but you know, there's times that he can do things that seem arrogant.
And I would say that was an arrogant thing to say and do. You know, and there's other things that he says and does. We have to get going pretty soon because I get to go to school soon. But I would classify as arrogant, but I wouldn't classify LeBron himself as an arrogant person.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. Okay. And number 5 was Richard Sherman. You probably don't know much about him at all, but he was a cornerback.
I'm better than you. You talking about Skip Bayless, or that Skip Bayless, or who was he talking about?
I don't even remember.
That was so funny. No, I know he is.
You do, okay, yeah.
I'm better than you.
Yeah, a lot of his was a lot of cockiness and on the field mostly, but off the field as well. He got himself into some trouble, but a lot of pride there. I don't have a problem with Richard Sherman on that list, me personally. Number 6 was Chael Sonnen. I hadn't heard of him before.
Is that the MMA fighter?
Yeah, MMA fighter. You said you've heard some clips.
Yeah, just like crazy post-fight, pre-fight, like conference holding, and then there's people what they say, and he was on that. Yeah,
again, does a lot of trash talking and a lot of mouthing off and things like that. But and I could see why people would think he might be on there. Number 6 or 7 was Cristiano Ronaldo. Mm-hmm. And there's always been a debate between Ronaldo and Messi. And talent on the field, there's no question that Ronaldo is awesome and good and whatever.
Mr. UCL.
It's really, I think the biggest difference that I see between him and Messi is, I think Messi's a better player personally, but what I see is, like, you don't ever see Messi elevating himself. Mm-hmm. I mean, does he even have you can't even imitate a celebration of Messi, can you? Does he have a celebration, like when he scores?
Yeah, he kisses there's like famous clips of him just kissing the camera, or he points to God. He does this a lot. Yeah. He does like that.
Yeah, but it's nothing like look at me.
Yeah.
Generally, it doesn't seem like.
Well, that. Yeah, even a kiss to the camera, like, "Here, this is a gift to you," or like points to God. You know, It's not about him. Serrano, see,
yeah, see. But to me, that's the biggest difference as far as on the arrogance and confidence thing, where Messi just seems confident. He's excited when he does great things and stuff, but there's no like.
He's like Jokic in that way.
He's super chill, seems like to me. Or Ronaldo seems to be a little bit more look at me type thing.
I get that. I think Ronaldo has a deep sense of people. I think he has a desire for people to recognize that he is not like he definitely. I do think that that is a part of him, who he is in terms of like he has that he wants people to look at him but I think he's just. So much so, or it's like he's like he gives so much away to like orphanages. Yeah. He does a lot of good. But I was watching an interview with Zlatan Ibrahimovic, and
he's on this list too.
Yeah, I know, I saw that too. And what Zlatan says, I was like, I do a lot of good. I do give a lot of charities. I'll never tell anyone about it.
Yeah,
like I won't tell you how much money. Like whereas like Ronaldo, he will tell people. You know, it's like I've done this, and I think that made me respect. That was an interview he had with Piers Morgan. Zlatan did, and I was watching the whole thing. And I really like Zlatan. He's probably like if I could imitate 2 players that like shaped me as a player, soccer wise, Ibra and Ronaldinho. So like those are like because like that's kind of like the confidence and the showmanship, you know, and just to have pure fun when you're just playing, you know. It's just, and I like Messi for that reason too. Like, it doesn't seem like he's playing for anything else but just the joy of the game.
Yeah.
But Ronaldinho and Sutton are probably the biggest influences for me and personally, just the way I approach the game and how I enjoy the game.
Yeah.
But I do think that, and we say this again, it's just, I won't classify Ronaldo as an arrogant person. There's times of arrogance, but
yeah. I think that's a good
distinction.
distinction.
And same, I won't classify you or me as arrogant people, but I can recognize in myself where I could say and do things that are arrogant.
Yeah.
Like, man, I probably, I took it too far. You know, I was like, and I have to reevaluate myself. Like, man, who am I? Like, I'm not supposed, that's not who I want to be. You know, it's like, and so you have to reevaluate yourself. You just have to come to the cross and it's like, hey, Jesus, I'm a sinner. Forgive me. You know, it's like, just, you know, he puts you in your place just by looking at him. He just like, if he is that great and makes himself, you know, a servant, you know, and just someone who could if anyone had the right to just act like God on earth, it was literally God on earth, Jesus Christ, and yet he didn't. You know, he let people kill him.
Yeah,
He's like,
right.
He's like, all right.
Oh, I like that. Number 8 was Mike Tyson, another boxer. And I can definitely see why people would say he was arrogant. But he'd also have some issues on. I mean, it was some of the things that he would do was not. I mean, you don't bite someone's ear off or like, I'm gonna eat your children. I'm gonna.
Yeah. and then goes, Alhamdulillah. I was like, dang, praise to God. I'm gonna eat your children. Praise to God. I was like, dang, that's not.
But to me, that was a lot of like showman. Like, he's trying to be something. I mean, yes, he was a great fighter as far as vicious, but.
And I think this is what we disagree on certain, and the thing is like, I don't think Mike Tyson is like trying to be a show. I think that's literally how he was thinking in that moment, at that time. Like, he's like, and same thing I think about Conor McGregor. Like, part of it, Conor McGregor is, you know, trying to sell things, but I really think even oh man, I don't want to say this, Ron. Who he just broke the 2-mile record, indoor record. Don't. I want to say
he just broke it.
Yeah, broke the 2-mile indoor record.
Grant Fisher.
No. That he broke the American record. O'Hare. Dude, Corey is going to be so mad at me.
Steve Kerr.
No. Oh. I gotta look this up.
All right. I'm gonna keep going with so number 9, because we can hit all these real quick. Number 9 was Zlatan Ibrahimovic, and number 10 was Lance Armstrong. And then they had some honorable mentions. So I'll just do the next 5. 11 was Tiger Woods on the list. 12 was Kobe Bryant. 13 was Cam Newton. 14 was Conor McGregor. And 15 was OJ. So those were the other, like, honorable mentions.
I'm surprised McGregor's not higher up that list.
Yeah.
Like, on people's perception of arrogance, I feel like he's higher than some of the other people on that list. Yeah. But
so who was it that one broke the 2-mile?
Josh Kerr.
That's what I said, Josh Kerr.
I they said something else. Yeah. My bad, guys. Yeah, it's Josh Kerr. He, him. So but people are saying it's like, oh, he's trying to say all these things about Jakob just to.
Jakob
Ingebrigtsen. Yeah.
Ingebrigtsen. So we're talking track now.
Yeah, sorry, we're talking track. These guys, Jakob and Josh Kerr. So Jakob is the youngest ever to win the Olympic title in the 1500 and is the Olympic record holder at 328. The past 2 years since then, after there have been like world championship finals, and he's lost to 2 people from Great Britain. One was Josh Kerr, the other one was
another
Whiteman. Jake. Yeah. And recently, Josh Kerr has been saying some smack online through like podcast forums and says like, "Hey, yeah, he's really like he when it comes to the biggest stage, he doesn't perform himself. Like, you could see in the last 2 World Championship finals, he's got second because he just thinks he's better than he really is." And there's been a lot of, but people have been saying like, "Oh, he's just saying that just to like create drama and to like create a narrative." But I really think like I don't think he's saying it for that purpose alone. And maybe that's a byproduct, but I really think that he's just saying what he actually believes.
Yeah.
Same thing when it comes to Mike Tyson. Same thing with Muhammad Ali. Same thing with Slatton. They're not saying it because it's like, oh, I want to try to make a show out of this. It's like, and maybe it is fun for them. Like when Slatton, soccer player, football player, he, took out the article that says "You're welcome" to Los Angeles and that thing.
Yeah, when he came to L.A. Galaxy. Yeah,
it's like,
or the best part, he said he in an interview he said, "L.A. You had a king, which was LeBron." Mm-hmm. He said, "Now you have a god."
Exactly.
Which is him.
And so it's like, and he probably, in those moments, he knows that it's going to get a reaction.
That's show.
But I really
no, I don't think he thinks that.
No, he probably thinks that his level of status and whatever is just like, yeah, you have like whatever. But let me just tell you, like, Slatton is in town now. Like, this is my city.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know. To me, that was show.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, yeah.
But I understand what you're saying. Not always is it show. Maybe it is. Sometimes it's what they believe. But I do think there was a movie. I can't even remember. It's the one with Tom Cruise and goodness gracious, what is that movie called? I can't remember. Cuba Gooden Jr. And he's like, "Show me the money. Show me the money." Do you remember that one? No. Or "You Complete Me." That
You Complete Me. Nope, don't know it. But I know the scene.
You know the scene. All right. Anyway, in that movie, Tom Cruise is an agent or whatever, and he's basically telling Cuba Gooding Jr. that he needs to be, he's got to be a showman. Like, yeah, your talent is not good enough to get you the money that you need to get. You need to be a showman. You got to have some kind of thing that people would look at and want to be entertained. Mm-hmm. So that was one of my questions. Do you think that Arrogance is entertaining?
Yeah, it gets people talking. It's like I get the popcorn out. The moment I see someone start talking their stuff, I'm just like, it's entertaining.
Yeah.
But
so would you want in that vein, then would you not want some people to be arrogant?
Well, the thing is, like,
would life be boring if we didn't have arrogant people?
Well, the thing is,
world?
And I would say this again, like, sometimes when people make their comments, like, for example, some people make their comments, I don't think it's coming from a place of arrogance. I think it's just extreme confidence. Like, but I think it's rooted in reality. I think maybe things should be said, not said. It's like that's where sort of wisdom comes into play. Like, just because it is true doesn't mean you have to say it. And I could think of personal things I said to Luke that damaged him as not just even as an athlete, but as a person, himself and his self-worth. And just because I would think comments like, I'm better than you or something like that. And maybe, I'm not saying, okay, maybe I'm not saying that was incorrect in terms of like, if you just play a numbers game or something or just figure out accolades and whatnot, you could say, I could make a case for that to be true. Doesn't mean it is true. I can make a case for it. But there is nothing good came out of it. Like, and you could say it's arrogant to say, confident. I want to classify it as arrogant. I think that what I said there in that moment was worse than arrogance. That was just some pride, sin, unkind, just awful. It was just bad. I shouldn't have said something like that. I want to classify that as arrogant. I would say worse than arrogance. That was, to me, in my opinion. And so, when listening to athletes and whatnot, say LeBron in that room, and he says, "I'm just trying to help the guys beneath me," you know. Everyone knows there's a hierarchy in terms of greatness and where people play things. That doesn't need to be said, you know. Mm-hmm. And I've like even me like saying those things to Luke. I hope LeBron reflects on those words and just say like, hey, I was wrong here. Like maybe I wasn't like wrong in what I said in terms of like how in terms of like I see a hierarchy and like I see where I fit in that place, but I'm not better than people. Mm-hmm. I'm just like just like that person sitting across from me. He's made in God's image, and I'm made in God's image. There's no elevation of like beneath. We're all on the same playing field. We're all sinners. You know, I know Ron might not say this, but I will say this to myself. We're all sinners. There's no better. You know, it's God died for you and for me. You know, like.
Right.
So it's like just like where are you getting this sense of elevation from? You don't deserve any of that.
Yeah.
So,
Which when you're talking about God and His opinion on that, there was a verse in Proverbs. Do you have your Bible with you or on the phone? It was Proverbs
8:13.
8:13. Can you read that?
This is NIV. It says, "To fear the Lord is to hate evil. I hate pride and arrogance, evil behavior and perverse speech."
So it's what God thinks about that. And it was interesting in that verse. It talked about pride and arrogance, kind of combining them, and perverse speech, which to me sometimes can be the trash talking that it's all incorporated in those things. But I do. There's where I do struggle because it's not like, as far as the entertainment part, like it is fun listening to people like that for some reason. I don't know. Like when we talk about listen to Muhammad Ali or listen to Mike Tyson talk, and those people who some people would deem arrogant, it's just entertaining. And I don't know exactly, how personally to process that sometimes. Like, am I supposed to be offended by it? Or am I supposed to be act like, if God hates that, am I supposed to hate it too? Or I don't know. What are your thoughts that you might have? You can just put those in the comments as well. Should we enjoy the arrogant people, or should we be like, or should it just be like, I'm not going to act that way type attitude? I don't know. I did see another quote that said, "Arrogance is weakness disguised as strength." I thought, I like that little quote there. So yeah, that's just interesting though. I do think that like I said, there's a fine line, and I struggle sometimes with looking at an athlete who is great on the field, and it seems to be trash talking, but I think that same attitude that they have, if they didn't have it, they might not be as great on the field or on the court or in the pool or on the track. I don't know. I personally, was very mild-mannered, and I didn't have that type of attitude when I was playing on the field. But there are times where, like if I'm doing cards or a board game or something like that with friends, that I can get, it's not arrogant, but I don't know, a little lippy. But we'll talk about that more, trash talking, next week. So, any other things you want to highlight?
No, I just want to say I appreciate your thoughts on arrogance and the role and reflecting that verse. Because honestly, I haven't really gave too much thoughts on, like, it's like if God hates this, like, how is my response to, like, he hates arrogance, he hates perverse speech, he hates pride, And so when I see someone exhibit that behavior, and like I said, I feel like my definition of arrogance might be different than others, but I could reckon. But even if someone who acts, say, arrogantly, like, what should be ought to be my response? I was like, I want to develop a heart like God.
Yeah.
And so if he hates that, then what should my response to that be? And then I think just listening to you speak just makes me reflect on all my thoughts and opinions on that subject matter.
Yeah. I think everyone should reflect on it a little bit, and like I said, we can all benefit from that. We talk more about arrogance than confidence, but that confidence is a good thing, and it is basically having that self-awareness of your strengths and weaknesses, and it's having the understanding of your strengths, but coupled with the humility. And to me, that's what that definition would be, and also using those strengths to elevate others. We talked a little bit about I think maybe it was our first podcast when we were talking about the purpose of competition, because you want to have that confidence in competition. And I think you said what your definition of confidence, or I'm sorry, of competition, or the purpose of competition is to make yourself better, like a better person, a better version of yourself. And competition is basically like a test, or it's basically a bar that you can kind of measure yourself by. Okay, when I'm competing, am I getting better? Am I doing better? And I think we also talked a little bit about the healthy competition is you making someone better, which also makes you better. You elevate each other, that iron sharpens iron type attitude. And I had told you like one of my favorite competitions that I ever had, I was playing outside back, a defender on the soccer field, and the other guy was a striker or a forward on the soccer field. And we were battling against one another, and we would encourage one another. Like if you did a good play, you'd say that. And you elevated each other's game. Like, I'm going to try and do better because you beat me this time, and then I got you, and you're going to try and do better, and go back and forth. And I do think that confidence plays a role in that. It's like to know that I'm on par with this, and I can play at this level, and I'm going to show you that I can play at this level. I think is healthy. But when we're talking about that, elevating one another, in increasing one another, there's a lot of scripture talking about that as well. That's the goal: spur one another on to love and good deeds. And with that comes you not only you're getting better, but you're making someone else better. And the better they are, the more you can get to that level as well, I think. So I wore this shirt on purpose. This is
Levi Ackerman.
Yeah, my Captain Levi from the Attack on Titans, because when I watched that show in the beginning, I was like, man, that dude's a confident guy. And I don't know if he didn't really seem, he wasn't arrogant or cocky. He knew what he was.
Yeah,
and
I'm
he
good.
would just be like,
killing.
Yeah, and people would be like, well, people screaming and yelling and getting in his face, and he would just be like, the whole time, like in his mind, like, I could destroy you if I wanted to, but I'm not going to. I'm just quiet and humble. I just like that. So I said, I'll wear this for my confidence versus arrogance thing.
Yeah.
Another little anime that my boys got me into, which I really enjoyed until the last few. I didn't really like the last bit of it.
No, yeah.
That's just me personally.
Yeah, I was. I mean, you're not alone in that. So, I personally, I don't really judge. I was like, oh, I don't. Sorry. I don't really judge how things end. Like maybe it's like I mean, how would you want to end it? How would you? So it's like I don't really care too much how it ends. It's just like that's how whoever created it, the story wanted to end it. That's fine by me. Like, right. It might not you might not like how it ended, but I don't know. Like that wasn't really that good of an ending. I was like, well, that's just the story. That's literally the story. Like I can't really.
Right.
You may not like it, but I'm not going to say it's a bad ending.
Yeah.
Like how would you end it? We could off the podcast.
Yeah, off podcast. This is a confidence versus arrogance, and not a anime and art. We can get in that speech. We had this big debate over art the other day. Said,
true art.
So, yeah. Well, I am. I don't think I have anything else to add. If you don't have anything else to add, we can Tigger this episode.
Tigger.
Take it off. Yeah, is that it?
Yeah, let's Tigger out of here.
Let's Tigger out of here. Well, hey, when you are competing, whatever you do, make sure that you are running in a way that you can win the prize.
Peace.
Peace.